Hello, and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video, we're going to start looking at the Planar Chaos set from Time Spiral block, and we're going to start off by looking at Endless March, which is the red and white deck. This is kind of a favourite of mine. So looking forward to talking about this one. So we have a deck list here, 28 creatures, which is pretty huge, and then 7 instants, 1 sorcery, and 24 land, and mana curve off to the side there. So let's start looking at all these creatures. So the theme of the deck is, so in Planar Chaos, there's a whole cycle of white creatures that have basically like the rescue ability, which means like when it comes into play, you return a certain number of creatures back to your hand. And we'll see how that interacts with some of the other creatures in this deck, a little bit later. But let's talk about all these rescue creatures first. So normally they're quite efficiently costed, but obviously essentially the extra cost is you have to bounce something, and if you don't have another creature, you obviously have to return them, and you've essentially wasted your time. So Dust Elemental is only 2 colors and 2 white for a 6/6 with flying, fear, and flash. Interesting to see fear on a white creature. So it has all that for only 4 mana. But when it comes into play, you have to return 3 creatures you control back to owner's hand. So you're potentially getting like a really good deal here. I suppose what you could do is like bounce tokens back, or bounce other creatures that've got your other like rescue creatures. But if this manages to come down and stick, it's pretty hard to deal with. It's very, very evasive. Essentially can only be blocked by black creatures with flying or artifact creatures with flying. It's got flash, which is pretty good, so it can come in as a surprise blocker. And what you could do is like maybe block with a bunch of creatures and then flash in Dust Elemental. Bounce the creatures that you were blocking with, so whatever you blocked stays blocked and doesn't do damage, but you've saved your creatures from combat damage. So it does set you back by returning 3, which is, that's not an insignificant number of creatures to return. But I say you've got so many creatures in this deck, and you've got so many creatures that want to go back to your hand to cast again, that it actually works out okay. So I think it's a pretty good rare to have. Then we have 2 Stormfront Riders, 4 colors and a white for a 4/3 flyer. When it comes to play, you have to return 2 creatures back to owner's hand. But whenever Stormfront Riders or another creature is returned to your hand from play, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So this is kind of just works with with all the rescue creatures. Whenever you bounce something back, you make a token, which essentially then gives you fuel to bounce something, because like whatever, it's a token, you can just get rid of a token. But it means that you're not essentially you're breaking even. You're still adding something to your board. Even you bounce something, you've still got a token at least. So yeah, I think it's okay. And being again like a 4/3 flyer for 5 mana is like pretty good. Hasn't got flash. It's the only rescue creature that doesn't have flash, which is a bit annoying. But as I say, it has like this pretty good bounce trigger that it makes tokens. So yeah, I think Stormfront Raiders is okay. 2 Stonecloakers, 3 mana for a 3/2 flyer with flash. When it comes to play, you bounce 1 thing, you rescue 1 creature, and it exiles a card in a graveyard, which is okay. It's a pretty niche ability, but this is this is a block where flashback. There is some flashback cards around, either new or old, that have been reprinted. So this is actually a relevant ability to have, I think. Not as important as say in like Odyssey block. But it definitely would have had an effect at some point. Even if it's not targeting specifically a flashback card, just exiling things from a graveyard is always like a good thing to do. Like you never know. And again, being like a 3/2 flyer with flash is for only 3 mana is pretty good, I think. And and then the last one is White Mane Lion. So it's 2 mana, 2/2 flash, and it rescues 1 creature. So this is the most basic rescue creature. And I think it's just pretty good. I think all these creatures I think are pretty good. I've got a lot of kind of fondness for them. And then so moving on to creatures that you kind of then want to be bouncing with your rescue creatures. So the other half of the deck is creatures with vanishing. So vanishing is kind of like, I would say it's a fixed version of fading, like back from Nemesis, like years and years before this. And I think it's just easier to like pass like when you read it, because fading was weird, because fading was you remove the counters and you sacrifice the thing when you cannot remove a counter anymore. Whereas vanishing is you sacrifice the thing when you remove the last counter. So I think it's like a little bit easier to track like mentally. Whereas fading had that extra. I think I don't know. To me, at least, like fading is harder would be harder to keep track of. Whereas vanishing, you're taking off the last counter and be like, right, well now I get rid of it. Whereas I don't know. It's obviously personal preference. I prefer vanishing. Also, vanishing interacts better with cards because it uses time counters, which suspend cards do as well. So there's, as you'll see, there's like some cards in here where that matters that it's time counters. Anyway, so we have 3 Aven Rift Watchers, 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer. It has vanishing 3, so you cast it and you basically have it for 3 turns. And when it comes into play or leaves play, you gain 2 life. So this is one of the cards where you want to rescue it because it's either it has an effect where it comes into play and when it leaves play. So really good with these rescue creatures. And even then, it has vanishing. So as it ticks down, you might want to like bounce it back to your hand and like reset it, play it again. And again, you get the leaves play and the enters play ability. So yeah, even Riftwatch is pretty good, I think. 2 Calciderm. So we get to talk about one of the gimmicks of Planar Chaos, which is color shifted cards. So in Time Spiral, we had Time Shifted, which was cards from the past, which were reprinted in their old frames of their classic art, but have like the purple time shifted icon. So in Planar Chaos, we have the color shifted, and this caused like a lot of controversy. Like a lot of people weren't happy about this because it was so obviously in Magic we have the color pie, and like every color is like quite like tightly defined what it can and can't do. Like red can't gain life, that kind of thing. But in Planar Chaos, like the color pie was like shifted slightly. It was a little blurred at the edges. So like colors got effects they don't normally get, which I really liked because I like seeing it when colors do stuff they don't normally do. But yeah, I remember it caused a lot of controversy with people saying, "Oh yeah, the color pie is sacrosanct and they've ruined it." But so color shifted cards like Calciderm, which is essentially it's white Blastoderm, well, again back from Nemesis. I think they were meant to represent this kind of like alternative timeline where like, oh, what if there was magic, but like in that reality they did this with the color pie instead, and I don't know, it's just kind of fun. I liked it. But anyway, Calciderm, 2 colors and 2 white for a 5/5, vanishing 4, and it has Shroud. Important to realize that Shroud doesn't prevent it from being rescued by your rescue creatures because, let me just double check, it doesn't target the rescue effect. So you can have Calciderm have like a really efficiently costed big beat stick, and then when it starts ticking down, you rescue it, and you can rescue it because, as I say, Shroud doesn't stop you using your rescue creatures on it. So yeah, again, like really, really good, efficiently costed creature to have here. A single Keldon Marauders. Like Aven Riftwatcher, this has a enters and leaves playability. 1 colours and 1 red for a 3/3 vanishing 2, so you only really get to swing with it once. So yeah, you play it. It comes in, does the 1 damage. You then, on your next turn, you get to swing with it, do 3, and then the turn after that it will die. But yeah, when it dies, it still does its leaves playability. So again, this is like a fairly decent thing to rescue. Yeah, I like Keldon Marauders. I kind of wish there'd been more than 1 in the deck though, just because I think it interacts so well with the rescue creatures. And then we have 2 Lava Core Elementals. So 2 colors and 1 red for a 5/3. Has vanishing 1, so it will die the next turn after you've played it. However, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you put a time counter on it. So that's the way of kind of keeping it around. I don't like this personally. I think you've got to jump through quite a few hoops to make it work because I don't know. Earliest you can do this is turn 3, and you might not have like that much on the board that can attack. And I mean, obviously, then you wouldn't play it, but then you're not getting the benefit of its kind of like cheap cost, I suppose. I'm not so keen on Lava Core Elemental. I think it's all right, but I think it's you gotta work too much, I think, to make it viable. A single Riftmark Knight, so we've also got some suspender cards in here. So 1 colours and 2 white. For a 2/2 has flanking and protection from black. You can suspend it for 1 colours and 2 white. You suspend it for 3 turns. and when the last time counter is removed from it, if it was suspended, you get the Rift Mark Knight, and you also get like his evil twin. You get a 2/2 Black Knight with flanking, protection from white, and haste. I think this is just a really fun design. I really like it. I don't know if it's worth waiting 3 turns to do this, because what you would suspend this turn 3, and then turn 6 you would get essentially just 2. Yeah, so the 2 night creatures with flanking, protection, and haste. But yeah, I think the design is really fun. We have 2 Jory's Time Bug. This is a great card. We talked about it in Reality Fracture in the Time Spiral decks. It's still doing its job here. So 2 mana, 1/2 artifact creature. Tap, choose a permanent you control or a suspended card you control, and you either add or remove a time counter from it. So this helps your vanishing creatures stay alive longer, or if you've suspended cards, it helps them tick down quicker. So yeah, super good card. Like it does a lot in this deck. Like it's generally one of my favorite cards in the block, just because it interacts with so much. I think it's just a very elegantly designed card. 2 Mog War Marshals, 1 custom, 1 red for a 1/1. When it comes into play or it dies, you make a 1/1 Goblin token, and it has Echo. So Echo is back. We didn't really talk about that in the Time Spiral decks, but yeah, Echo is back, which means you have to pay the Echo cost the turn after you've played it. Otherwise, it dies. But I think this is okay. It's kind of like a really inefficient dragon fodder, honestly. But if you do pay the Echo cost and keep it alive, and then it dies later, I think that's fine. And again, it's like an okay thing to rescue, because it doesn't have a leaves play effect, which would be great. But yeah, I think it's okay. A single Children of Corliss, 1 white mana for 1/1. Sacrifice Children of Corliss, you gain life equal to the life you've lost this turn. This is just kind of like a utility creature. It doesn't really blend too well with the with what else the deck is doing. This is just kind of oh god, I lost a lot of life that turn. Bloop, no I didn't. And yeah, I think it's okay. It's just okay. Just to have 1 of them, I think it's fine. 2 Errant Doomsayers. I don't like this card. It's just it's just bad. In my opinion, it's just not as good as Master Decoy. 2 mana for a 1/1. Tap a creature with toughness 2 or less. I just think that's just not very good at all. But unfortunately, it is in pretty much every white deck in the blocks precons. So get used to seeing it. Avalanche Riders. This is an insanely good reprint, and also means that Avalanche Riders is modern legal because it's a time shifted card. So 3 cards and a red. For a 2/2 with haste, when it comes into play, you destroy a land, and it has Echo, but it's fine. Because this is this is an amazing creature to rescue. If you want to be super mean and just keep playing it and destroying land. The fact it's got haste is really good as well. That's got Echo, because it means you can play it, get its effect, and attack with it. And it doesn't matter if you don't pay the Echo cost, because you've got some use out of it. So yeah, Avalanche Riders is a super good card to have in here. 2 Acacian Javelineers. Sorry, I pronounced that really weirdly. 1 white mana for a 1/1, comes into play with a Javelin counter on it, and you can tap, remove a Javelin counter. It does 1 damage to any target. Yep, kind of weird to have a white creature with a ping ability, but it's fine. Again, another good creature to rescue and play it and reset it. So yep, fine. And a single Soltari Priest, 2 white mana for a 2/1 with protection from red and shadow, which means it can only block or be blocked by other creatures with shadow. Shadow is back as well. It hasn't it again didn't show up in any of the Time Spiral blocks, but there are a few decks where creatures with shadow are used, like new ones, not just like these time shifted ones. So yeah, that'll be fun to look at some point. So now moving on to the few like non-creature spells. So 2 Brute Force, which is just color shifted giant growth. I really liked this card at the time. I still like this card because I never got these complaints about like, oh, the color shifted cards are really bad, but like Brute, like this effect is fine in red. Like you could make a legitimate claim that like this effect is fine in red. It boosts it boosts power. Yeah, maybe boost the toughness is like something red doesn't often do, but it's fine. So yeah, having a red giant growth was super good, very exciting. So I really like this card. And it goes really well in this deck because it's very aggressive deck. A single Dawn Charm. So charms are in Planar Chaos as well, and I love charms. And the charms in Planar Chaos are some of my favorite. Like apart from maybe the black one, I can't remember. But the white and green ones are really good. So yeah, Dawn Charm. So 1 colours, 1 white. Instant. Choose one. So it's either Fog, you prevent all combat damage to the turn, or regenerate a creature, which is useful, or you counter a spell that targets you. Those are 3 really, really good effects. So yeah, Dawn Charm is excellent. I really like Dawn Charm. Great card, great card. Split cards are back from Invasion, but weirdly they only show up in red, I think, in Planar Chaos, which is fine because like red is probably my favorite color. So getting split cards is great. And Dead and Gone is great for the 2 effects it does. So Dead is basically a limited shock. It's 1 red to do 2 damage to a creature, instant speed. And then Gone is an effect that I really wish red got more of. So it's bounce in red, but only on stuff you don't control, which I think is fine. I really wish red got this effect more, like it had become a permanent thing. Because blue gets bounce for everything. But as we've seen in this deck, it's fine for white to get bounce for your own stuff, and I think it's fine for red to get bounce for opponent stuff. But yeah, this is like a really good flexible card. You either kill a small creature or you bounce a large one that you can't kill. So yeah, really like Dengon. I really wish there'd been more than 1 in this deck. So the other area of the deck is a weird one, Fatal Frenzy. So two colors and a red instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets trampled and gets +X/+0, where X is its power, and you sacrifice it end of turn. So I guess the play is here: you cast it, you do a bunch of damage with with the attacking creature, and maybe kill a bunch of opponent's creatures if they're blocking it, and then before the end of turn, before you sacrifice it, you rescue it with one of your rescue creatures. But yeah, I don't know, like it's okay, I suppose. This never feels like a rare card to me. I mean, like the ceiling is really high. It can you can do potentially a lot of stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It just feels it always feels a little underwhelming as a rare. I guess it's a fine card, but yeah, whether it should be rare, I don't know. I feel like these days this would be like uncommon, maybe. I don't know. I might be completely off base about that, but I've never seen this card like really achieve much, I suppose. I don't know. A single Sunlance. So I'm not sure what this is meant to be. Oh, it's Strafe. I think it's color shifted Strafe. So 1 white mana does 3 damage to a non-white creature, which is fine. Give white some burn, I guess. And again, like you could claim like this. Yeah, this makes sense in white. Sure. Yeah, and it's perfectly fine. Again, really wish there'd been more than 1, but it's fine. And then we have 2 time craftings. So X and a red. Choose one. You either remove X time counters from a permanent or suspended card, or put X time counters on a permanent or suspended card. So this is like a really fun utility card. You either add a bunch of time counters to your stuff with vanishing, so it sticks around longer. You can use this to make your suspended cards tick down faster. You can use this on an opponent's suspended card to make them wait longer for it, or use it on an opponent's vanishing card to make it kind of disappear immediately. So yeah, really like fun. Again, very elegantly designed card. I think does a lot of potential fun stuff it can do. And then 3 Terramorphic Expanse, which is fine in 2 color decks. Just 3 of these just to search up whatever color you need. So, what do I think could have been? So, I know there's a lot of cards here. I do think the selection of cards in the deck is fine. But there's a lot of like, honestly, I think that speaks to the strength of like the set, like how much potentially could have gone instead. Yeah, what's here is not bad. That's what I'm trying to get to. But yeah, there was just a lot of other potential good cards that could have gone here. So Sting Scourger is a little 2/2 goblin which has like a bounce ability, but it has echo. So that's a fine thing to rescue. You play it, you bounce an opponent's creature, and then you rescue it with white main line or something. Sulfur Elemental is a very weird card. So it's a 3 mana, I think it's 3/2 with flash. I've covered it up because I'm amazing. But it gives white creatures +1/-1, which can help in this deck. Makes you're playing a lot of white creatures, so make them stronger. Ether Membrane is one of is a real personal favorite of mine. So it's a red. It's a red wall, so it has Defender, but it also has Reach, and this was like before red kind of officially got Reach as a sort of a secondary ability. And whenever it blocks something, it bounces it, so it's like the most like blue, it's the most blue-red card I can think of. Yeah. Mantle Leadership is like this aura, and it gives creature ability whenever a creature comes into play, it gets +2/+2 turn, which works really well here because you're bouncing stuff and playing it a lot. Spirit Loop, I think, would work as an aura. It goes on a creature and it gives it essentially lifelink, and when Spirit Loop is destroyed, it goes back to your hand. So you could put this on a creature that you're going to bounce anyway, or that's going to vanish, and when it gets bounced or disappears, then fine, you get the Spirit Loop back anyway. Undying Rage is sort of the same, but it just gives +2/+2. Cold Stoker I thought would be okay. It has an ability when you cast it from your hand, you get triple red, which, I mean, sure, I guess. Crovax I thought would have been okay here as an alternate rare. So 4 colours and 2 white for a 4/4. Gives your white creatures +1/+1. Gives non-white creatures -1/-1, and you can pay 2 life to bounce them back to your hand. I don't know, thought that could have been okay as a rare, maybe instead of the Fatal Frenzy. And Firemore Kavoo, actually really surprised this wasn't in here. 5 colours and a red for a 4/2, has Echo. It has, and it would be perfect because it has a comes into play and a leaves play ability, so again, like perfect thing to bounce with your rescue creatures. But yeah, overall, I do think I do like this deck because this is one I had. I played out of the box, and it felt really, really good to kind of like keep resetting like the vanishing creatures with the bounce creatures and like saving them from removal spells or combat. Yeah, it's a really fun theme, and I think that's why I like it because it's doing something kind of different. Like it is at the end of the day, it's red white kind of aggressive kind of weenie deck, but it's got this whole like sub theme of bouncing stuff and like keeping your well costed vanishing stuff alive for longer. Yeah, I just think it's really interesting as a deck concept. But what did you think of this deck after seeing the deck list? Did you have this deck? If you've got any thoughts, opinions, stories about this deck or the cards in them, please put a comment below. I always like reading those comments. But I'll be back next time. We're going to look at another Planar Chaos pre-constructed deck. But until then, thank you for watching, listening, and have a great day.